Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erica. Welcome back to my channel. It's that time of year again. Cal Poly admissions are being sent out, and I always notice in this time an influx of people are visiting my channel about my Cal Poly videos. So my sister is here with me and we're gonna be chatting about all the reasons to not go to Cal Poly Slo. We're both Cal Poly graduates. I graduated in 2019 and she graduated in 2021. We are both construction management majors, and overall we both actually loved Cal Poly, but I feel like every year I can kind of come up with more things that, I don't know, I realize maybe weren't ideal about Cal Poly, or something I feel like maybe I missed out on looking back at it now. So we're just gonna go over those reasons, and a lot of you I think are probably trying to decide whether Cal Poly is the right fit for you. So hopefully this video helps you make your decision. Probably one of the most infamous things about Cal Poly, the idea of changing your major at Cal Poly. Actually, Maddie did change her major, so she's a great person to kind of talk on this. In general, I actually don't think that Cal Poly is the wrong choice if you might want to change your major. But I would say if you are going into it and your idea is to change into a major that is impacted, which would be like most of, I think, all of the engineering programs and a lot of the business programs. There are other ones too, but those are, I think, the most competitive. If you are just going into the school knowing that that's what you want to do, all power to you if you're able to do it, but I think it's really, really difficult.
More specifically, if you applied to an easier major to make sure that you got into the school and then want to switch to a harder major that you might not have been qualified to get into. I changed my major, and my best friend also changed her major from general engineering to industrial engineering. So they're both engineering, but since one wasn't harder than the other, the switch for both of us was actually extremely easy. We both did it freshman year, started the process, and we're officially changing majors by sophomore year. You have to be really proactive about it, come up with a game plan with the department chair of the major that you're switching into, and then really advocate for yourself to make sure that you get in the classes that you need to be able to take, and then get whatever grade is required of you. I think it's usually like an A or a B in a few classes that they outline. The next thing that we would say is a con about Cal Poly, or just something to consider if you're in that phase of deciding where you want to go to college. I would say most students have cars on campus. It's definitely not needed, but it's definitely a perk. So if you know that you're not going to have a car, you might want to find someone to live with that has a car, or become friends with people that have cars. Most students do have cars because you are able to see a lot more of Slo in the surrounding areas, like the beaches and the hikes, if you do have a car.
And the bus is very easy to use in Slo, it's very safe, and your Cal Poly card does allow you to ride the bus for free. And my first 2 years I didn't have a car and I used it, but the grocery store, getting to Trader Joe's, if you take the bus, it's about an hour, and maybe that's not that big of a deal if you're living in a bigger city, but I just feel like because Slo is kind of a small town, you really can't take advantage of Slo until you have a car, and I wish I would have had one sooner.
I should clarify, most first years don't have cars.
Oh yeah, first year it's impossible to have a car. I had one friend who had a car and she had to park it very far away.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's even worth it first year unless you have some circumstance that
allows you to have a car.
Or would require you to need a car. It's really once you move off of campus.
The reason why I didn't have a car my second year, well, I guess she was using it, but also because I was living at Mustang Village, which is a really common place for second years to live. It's off campus, but I think parking is a few $100s a month, or maybe it was $500 for the quarter or something. But for a college student, it seems like a lot of money to have a car to park it there, versus once I moved into a house, I was able to have free parking at the house.
Yeah, you can't just park on the streets because you have to have a parking plaque for that zone.
Yeah.
So I lived extremely close to campus, so I was really lucky because then I got a parking plaque that was in the zone right next to campus.
A really big thing is that off-campus housing is extremely competitive, and it's pretty expensive, especially compared to a lot of other schools. I feel like that a lot of the houses in Slo get passed down within Greek life and Greek life families. Because I was a girl, it was definitely easier to find a house and get accepted into one, but I think being a boy would be even harder. A lot of landlords and people are going to be afraid that you're just going to completely trash it, which is fair, but a lot of college housing in Slo is really in like neighborhoods. A lot of SLO is college students, so a lot of houses are occupied by college students, but I didn't even know who some of our neighbors were, but I don't think they were college students, so.
Yeah, and then on that note, we don't have like a traditional Greek row with the huge houses. I would say most Greek life houses, even if you are in Greek life, at least for the sororities, they only fit like 10 girls to live in. Max, yeah. So you don't get...
A lot of them have like maybe 5.
Yeah, I think we had, like 10 or something.
Like you had one of the bigger houses. She was in AKIO, so she has that experience. I was not in a house, so I don't really know.
If you're looking for that very traditional, like, I want to join a sorority, I want to live in the house, I want to have the chef and the amenities, that is like not really a thing at Cal Poly.
Alpha Phi is the only
Alpha
one that
Phi
has
a chef. But even then, like, not that many girls live in.
Probably about 10 to 12, I think, can live. They have one of the bigger houses.
Yeah, and then other than that, most girls just live usually with other. Honestly, I did not live with girls in my sorority,
but a lot of them
do like live off campus with each other. But if that's something that's really important to you,
you're not going to get the traditional Southern Greek experience at all. And even I think UCLA and Berkeley definitely have more like Greek rows. That might be a pro to you though if Greek life isn't super important to you and you don't want it to take over campus.
Yeah, or if you want to join it but like have it not be your entire life. I honestly really overall like that it was there, an option, I was in it, but I'm glad that I had a lot of friends that were either in other houses or weren't in Greek life at all. But it just kind of depends on what you're looking for. I honestly thought I really wanted that very traditional huge house with 90 girls living in, and maybe I would have loved it if I had that. I don't know.
Another reason to not pick Cal Poly Slo as the college for you would be if you are picturing yourself moving to college and wanting to plant yourself there and stay there. Even though I think so many Cal Poly graduates talk so fondly about Slo and wish we all like have this pipe dream of, oh, I want to move back to Slo one day, it's not something, or it's not very common for graduates to immediately stay in Slo. I think for a bunch of different reasons. One, Cal Poly in general, or Slo in general, and the area around it, you're not going to have nearly as many business opportunities, especially just going like 3 hours north and south. You're in like the Bay and LA, and there's so much more there. Slo is mostly populated with college students and retired older people, so the scene for 20 and 30-year-olds, I don't know, is fully there. I do know a handful of people who have kind of stayed around that area, but it's not super common.
Also, I guess is a good point if you're looking to attend college later in life and are looking to maybe meet other people in their like late 20s or early 30s, that might be harder to do as well. I know when I was a freshman, there were like some people that were older.
I feel like it's not the best school for a transfer student. I feel like it's kind of hard. I mean, transfer students always seem to be friends with each other. I think it's always hard to be a transfer student, especially if you are a bit older than everyone else. Cal Poly is, even though it is a public school, I would say there's a large bubble of like very privileged kids that go there. And so most people are people who are directly coming from high school, a lot of times coming from like fairly well-off families. So I don't know, I think if you were maybe a transfer student and you were a bit older and you were working and having to manage all that, I think it is like it's harder to kind of find your group or find your place at Cal Poly.
Yeah, it's harder socially. A lot of the student population is straight out of high school, and a lot of the kids don't need to work, but a lot of kids do work.
A lot of them do, but I guess it's not like to the same degree as somebody who's maybe decided like who I don't know is fully
has like a full-time
supporting
job
themselves. I think it'd be hard to schedule classes too, because registering classes is very difficult. So if you do have some type of full-time job, trying to get into classes already is hard enough, so trying to take solely night classes or something.
Yeah, that would be highly difficult.
Be able to do that. So many major classes they might offer like 1 or 2. Diversity is not huge at Cal Poly. Cal Poly is very much a predominantly white campus, and I've seen tons of people talk about this, especially people of color and people in the LGBTQ community. They definitely did not feel super included at Cal Poly, or there's just not a large community. And I think that they are definitely taking more steps to be a more inclusive school. I think that's a big downside to Cal Poly, and if that's something that you really value, or if you personally feel like you're not gonna like worry about finding your place, that is something to think about.
Yeah, and even just when you look about where people are from, I would say a whole bunch of people are from the Bay Area, and then a whole bunch of people are from SoCal. That just already limits diversity in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean, both of those places are like very wealthy.
And also just like if you want to meet people that aren't just from California, like one of my roommates was from Pennsylvania, but I would say most people were from somewhere in California.
Yeah.
Yeah, another thing that we've identified as a possible downside to Cal Poly is that there is one local airport and it's extremely small. So flights can be very expensive and hard to come by. I've definitely flown in and out of Slo a handful of times, but if you're either coming from out of state or one of those people that knows that they want to be hopping on flights a lot on your weekends, that's just something to consider because your options will definitely be limited and prices might be extremely high.
Yeah.
And then if like you miss your flight or something, or your flight gets delayed or canceled, which has happened to me, it is horrible because there just aren't really many
options.
Yeah, many options. The plus side is security takes 2 minutes.
Yeah, the airport's so fast
because there
to
are
get
like
through.
2 terminals or something crazy like that.
Yes, and then also I think the Santa Barbara airport would be the closest airport to you, but that's not huge either. There might be a few more options, and then the next closest ones would be San Jose and LAX, which you'll definitely have a lot of options, but you're gonna have to drive like 3 hours to get to either of those.
Yeah, I definitely had friends that were from out of state and they would fly into the Bay Area and then get a ride.
Something to consider coming to Cal Poly is that the campus is super hilly, and I would not say that it is super accessible. If you have any injuries or disabilities that might make it harder to walk around like a steep campus or lots of hills, I don't think that Cal Poly is super easy to get around.
Definitely. And I think that they're definitely making more of an effort to make sure that it is more accessible, and they have people that drive around golf carts so that if you're on crutches or need extra assistance getting around, take you to wherever you need to go on campus. It just, is another thing to consider. It's not like we have a bus, which I know some like really large college campuses have to take people from one place to another. It would be you calling for a personal ride.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're applying to Slo, you probably know that it's not a big city, and maybe that's what you love about it. It's a college town, which I think is so much fun to go to college in a college town, but I think it's important to really consider what you're looking to get out of your college experience, because if you're someone that just loves the hustle and bustle, Slo is like a slower pace of life. Yeah. There's tons and tons and tons to do, but it's a lot of like outdoor nature, farmers market type vibes.
Yeah.
There are concerts for sure, but if
they're mostly smaller. And also in Slo, like any large event is like mostly going to be filled with Cal Poly students. Where in a city you're going to like have obviously tons of other people. If you're into the food scene, I actually love the food in Slo. I feel like there's so many good restaurants, but you will hit them all very quickly. So if you're like constantly one of these people who wants to like try new places and see new things, you can see Slo pretty quickly.
We love the food there. Like when I go back, I crave the food. But when you're there, you will want to come home.
Actually, because like actually getting like
food.
diverse food is very hard to find. There's a handful of Asian restaurants.
Most of them aren't very good.
Yeah, a lot of the good food there is like Italian or like American food.
Or sandwiches.
Yeah, the sandwiches are really big in Slo.
Acai bowls.
But like there's a few Indian places. The sushi's okay.
Great coffee shops.
Yeah, the coffee shops are amazing and Slo. Good vibes there. Lots of college students doing homework and stuff. So I think that pretty much wraps up all the reasons to not go to Cal Poly Slo. If you guys have more questions or if you want to see Maddie in some more videos, comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.